Welcome to Snippets, Bits and Bobs, a channel of weekly themed, eclectic collection of excerpts, quotes, poetry, and lyrics, read in a slow, soft-spoken A.S.M.R style to relax you, inspire, or evoke a memory or two, perhaps to bring a smile or make you laugh. So I hope you'll be as excited as I am each week as I share new themes with you. If you're not familiar with what A.S.M.R is, please check its definition in the description box below. So welcome and welcome back to our library and oasis. It is a pleasure to have you visit again. Remember, this is your space to unwind, to relax, to decompress. So slow down your pace. Take deep breaths. Softly and deeply in and out. In and out. It's been such a beautiful day here, and it's September. I cannot believe September is here already. And it triggers for me, and I guess for many of you, back to school. Of course, nowadays that trigger is developed into different forms and formats. But here, in this space, and in this library, remember it's to unwind, I think of those school books and school stories written from the way back times. Not to say that you were born then, but they still resonate with so many of us, including me. So think back to, books from the 20s like Winnie the Pooh series, Bambi series, The Voyages of Dr. Dolittle, Anne of Green Gables, Glinda of Oz, yes, The Wizard of Oz, and books from the 30s, like written in the 30s, like Madeline, Mary Poppins, J.R. Tolkien's The Hobbit, Little House on the Prairie. And from the 40s, Pippi Longstocking, Curious George, The Little Prince, Cheaper by the Dozen, Stuart Little, Bedknob and Broomstick. Just love those. And from the 50s, Charlotte's Web, The Cat in the Hat, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, Chronicles of Narnia, and a bear called Paddington. Now, of all these choices, which ones to read to you? What a dilemma. What a wonderful dilemma, really. And I wonder if you guessed which ones I chose. Well, let's see what's on the reading list for Back to School. Okay, so how about Anne of Green Gables by Lucy Maud Montgomery? Anne of Green Gables is a 1908 novel by Canadian author L.M. Montgomery. And it's written for all ages, and it has been considered a classic children's novel since the mid-20th century. Set in the late 19th century, the novel recounts the adventures of Anne Shirley, an 11-year-old orphan girl who is mistakenly sent to two middle-aged siblings, Matthew and Marilla Cuthbert, who had originally intended to adopt a boy to help them on their farm in the fictional town of Avonlea on Prince Edward Island, Canada. The novel recounts how Anne makes her way through life with the Cuthberts in school and within the town. Now, Anne is imaginative, eager to please, and dramatic. However, she is defensive about her appearance, especially about her red hair, freckles, and pale, thin frame. But she likes her nose, though. She is talkative, especially when it comes to describing her fantasies and dreams. Anne takes much joy in life and adapts quickly and thrives in the close-knit farming village. Her imagination and talkativeness soon brighten up the village of Green Gables, the first real home she's ever known. So, some quotes of Anne of Green Gables. People laugh at me because I use big words. But if you have big ideas, you have to use big words to express them, haven't you? There's such a lot of different Annes in me. I sometimes think that is why I'm such a troublesome person. If I was just the one Anne, it would be ever so much more comfortable. But then it wouldn't be half so interesting. Oh, it's delightful to have ambitions. I'm so glad I have such a lot. And there never seems to be any end to them. That's the best of it. Just as soon as you attain one ambition, you see another one glittering higher up still. It does make life so interesting. Why must people kneel down to pray? If I really wanted to pray, I'll tell you what I'd do. I'd go out into a great big field all alone, or in the deep, deep woods, and I'd look up into the sky, up, up, into that lovely blue sky that looks as if there was no end to its blueness. And then I just feel a prayer. Isn't it splendid to think of all the things there are to find out about? It just makes me feel glad to be alive. It's such an interesting world. It wouldn't be half so interesting if we know all about everything, would it? There'd be no scope for imagination then, would there? But, am I talking too much? People are always telling me I do. Would you rather I didn't talk? If you say so, I'll stop. I can stop when I make up my mind to it, although it's difficult. I read in a book once that a rose by any other name would smell as sweet, but I've never been able to believe it. I don't believe a rose would be as nice if it was called a thistle or a skunk cabbage. I don't know. I don't want to talk as much. It's nicer to think, dear. pretty thoughts and keep them in one's heart like treasures. I don't like to have them laughed at or wondered over. Miss Barry was a kindred spirit after all, Anne confided to Marilla. You wouldn't think so to look at her, but she is. Kindred spirits are not so scarce as I used to think. It's splendid to find out there are so many of them in the world. Anne always remembered the silvery, peaceful beauty and fragrant calm of that night. It was the last night before sorrow touched her life, and no life is ever quite the same again when once that cold, sanctifying touch has been laid upon it. Which would you rather be if you had the choice? Divinely beautiful or dazzlingly clever? Or angelically good? Oh, Marilla, looking forward to things is half the pleasure of them, exclaimed Anne. You mayn't get the things themselves, but nothing can prevent you from having the fun of looking forward to them. Mrs. Lynde says, Blessed are they who expect nothing, for they shall not be disappointed. But I think it would be worse to expect nothing than to be disappointed. If you are enjoying this video, please subscribe, like, and comment. Thank you. Our next selection is Bambi, A Life in the Woods. It's a 1923 Austrian coming-of-age novel written by Felix Salten and originally published in Berlin. The novel traces the life of Bambi, a male roe deer, from his birth through childhood, the loss of his mother, the finding of a mate, Faline, the lessons he learns from his father, the stag prince, and the experience he gains about the dangers posed by human hunters in the forest, which the animals call he or him. However, as Bambi grows, he learns that he, the human hunters, are not all powerful, and learns from the stag prince that there is another he who is powerful over all creatures. So, some quotes from Bambi. You see, when you're young and foolish, it doesn't matter where you may be. You always think that you'll be happier somewhere else. Your growing antlers, Bambi continued, are proof of your intimate place in the forest. For of all the things that live and grow, only the trees and the deer shed their foliage each year and replace it more strongly, more magnificently in the spring. Each year the trees grow larger and put on more leaves. And so you too increase in size and wear a larger, stronger crown. What do you want? What do you know about it? What are you talking about? Everything belongs to him, just as I do. But I love him. I worship him. I serve him. Do you think you can oppose him, poor creatures like you? He's all powerful. He's above all of you. Everything we have comes from him. Everything that lives or grows comes from him. A robin perched on the branch of the apple tree, his feathers ruffled, his red chest blazing. "No need to look so down in the mouth," he chirruped. "Things'll get worse before they get better." "I don't know what it is about that tree," Gino grumbled. "That makes everything that sits in it talk in proverbs. It's easier than thinking," the robin stated. "Don't lose your head," screamed the pheasant, and at the same time his voice broke in a whistling gasp, and spreading his wings he flew up with a loud whir. Bambi watched how he flew straight up, directly between the trees, beating his wings. The dark metallic blue and greenish brown marking on his body gleamed like gold. His long tail feathers swept proudly behind him. A short crash like thunder sounded sharply. The pheasant suddenly crumpled up in mid-flight. Cheaper by the Dozen is a book that was written in 1948 by Frank Gilbreth and his sister Ernestine, siblings from a family of 12 brothers and sisters sharing their childhood in Montclair, New Jersey. Their parents, Frank Sr. and Lillian Gilbreth, were consultants in time study, education, and efficiency, and whose home doubled as a real-world laboratory that tested the parents' ideas about education and efficiency. And the book is more of a series of stories, many of which are humorous, with little overarching narrative. So the book was titled Cheaper by the Dozen as an answer, or from an answer Gilbert's father would give when asked why he has so many children. And he would answer, "It's cheaper by the dozen." After the book was published a few years later, the semi-autobiographical novel was made into a Hollywood movie, which I did see. It was very funny. Anyway, here are some quotes. Dad himself used to tell a story about one time when Mother went off to fill a lecture engagement and left Father in charge of home. So when Mother returned, she asked him if everything had run smoothly. "Well, Didn't have any trouble except with that one over there, he replied. But a spanking brought him into line. Mother could handle any crisis without losing her composure. That's not one of ours, dear. He belongs next door. Dad took moving pictures of us children washing dishes so that he could figure out how we could reduce our emotions and thus hurry through the task. Irregular jobs such as painting the back porch or removing a stump from the front lawn were awarded on a low bid basis. Each child who wanted extra pocket money submitted a sealed bid saying what he would do the job for. The lowest bidder got the contract. Someone once asked Dad, "But what do you want to save time for? What are you going to do with it?" Said Dad, "For work, if you love that best. For education, for beauty, for art, for pleasure." He looked over the top of his nose and he said, "For mumbledy-peg, if that's where your heart lies." Dad, who knew that Mother's favorite poet was Browning and suspected where the Robert came from, nevertheless bunched the fingers of his right hand, kissed their tips, and threw his hand into the air. "Ah, Robert," he intoned, "if I could but taste the nectar of thy lips." Dads can be so funny. I'm so glad you could stop by today. Thank you for watching. If you like what you heard, please share this video. Welcome new subscribers. If you haven't already, I invite you to subscribe and hit the like button. Also, share your comments below about this video and tell me what topics you want to hear in future videos. If you'd like to see recent videos of snippets, bits, and bobs, see the links in the description. Also, click on the bell icon on your right to get the latest videos when they are uploaded, usually each week on Tuesdays. Can't wait to share next week's theme with you. So, have a good week and see you soon at Snippets, Bits, and Bobs. Bye-bye.